Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, opponents of LB 920 don't care about this, but right to life and family values or founders' values or whatever the groups are, they're pushing a total abortion ban with no exception for rape or incest, no exception for the life of the mother, and they have a lobbyist too. They have a lobbyist too. And of course, the right to associate and organize and petition your government is protected by the First Amendment. But okay. In Nebraska, we are taxing ourselves to death to fuel mass incarceration and racial injustice at the local and state level. This is the main driver in property taxes. It's the fastest growing budget item. It's outpacing education and health and human services and economic development. And what AM 2337 is more status quo. Colleagues, the status quo that we have in Nebraska is unsafe. The status quo is what has led to severe overcrowding, #1 in the nation, and the worst, among the worst, in racial disparities and human rights violations like over-reliance on solitary confinement, putting people with severe mental illnesses in solitary confinement, which is against state law, by the way. And under-resourcing is what hurts frontline staff. And we have seen recidivism move way too far in the wrong direction. And that's not tough on crime. That's actually hurting public safety. Even more sad to me is that criminal justice reform is one of the only true bipartisan issues that we have at the state and federal level right now. Several different political ideologies can come together for different reasons, but they have come to the same powerful solutions at the state level and at the federal level all over this country. And that's smart justice and working to unwind the entanglements of mass incarceration. So the real question is, why don't opponents of LB 920 support these bipartisan smart justice solutions? And also, why don't opponents trust judges and prosecutors in Nebraska? Why don't we trust their discretion? Why has the legislature tied their hands and tried to control their judgment with these extreme sentencing laws and mandatory minimums that get rid of individual judicial discretion? And don't forget who really profits from mass incarceration. The governor and Scott Frakes literally tried to push a private prison just a few years ago, a year or so ago, before they folded on that and decided to just talk about building another state penitentiary. And companies benefit big time, and companies profit big time, and people profit big time, even when we're talking about a public prison, even when we're not talking about private prisons. And public safety and the state budget and the people is what ends up losing out when states like Nebraska try to build their way out of mass incarceration, which is literally impossible from both a fiscal perspective, a budget perspective, and from a moral perspective. Overall, LB 920 is modest reform. Data is data. We're all getting lobbied on all kinds of different things. And to cast
1 minute
aspersions and cast doubt on the process that this has come about by saying there's a lobbyist. What is really the issue? What is preventing opponents from coming to this bipartisan solution that conservatives and progressives and everyone in between all over this country have come to and have had results with? What's the harm? How many things do we debate here that just really come down to what's the harm? The harm is to public safety if we continue down this path and accept something like AM 2337, which is just more of the status quo. Again, think about who really profits from that. Thank you, Mr. President.